start the video now.
Great.
Hey, this is Jesse Miller. Thanks for joining this lecture. I wanted to give an overview of what we've been working on this year, and I appreciate your time to come here. You know, I may not be able to give the presentation, so I wanted to make sure that I can still give it and that you'd be able to see the kind of the work that we've been doing over the years. So yeah, here we go. Again, the working group that we're working on is the vibrant farms and local infrastructure. What we're trying to do is create vibrant farms and a robust local infrastructure. So the agenda for today is we're going to review the website and e-commerce platform that we've developed over the last year, as well as the transportation and infrastructure that we've worked on, and then some of the marketing stuff that we've done as well. I think this is very beneficial for local food businesses and producers around the state. So this is really the equation that we're working off of, that we feel like local food access is a component of both food availability and price sensitivity. So if local food is available, it's actually grown in places and that people can actually purchase it. And then consumers that have a decreased price sensitivity to purchasing local food, then we have increased local food access. So our goal really is to increase purchasing of local food products in Wyoming. That's the main goal of what we're trying to do within the vibrant farms and resilient local food infrastructure. And our objectives are to increase consumer awareness of local food, to let them know.
Leanne, I lost the sound. Did anyone else lose sound from Jesse?
Yes.
Like I said, local food producers within Wyoming and around the region, as well as local food businesses, and then also local food consumers within Wyoming. These are the three target audiences that we're trying to hit and trying to provide and give some support to. And here's our vision of the project that we're working on. We're trying to develop a robust physical infrastructure for local foods in Wyoming, particularly the model that I've been continuing to talk about, not the traditional hub and spoke food hub model, but more of a distributed network food hub model where each region develops the physical infrastructure necessary for the region to succeed. Then we can plug into the larger, statewide infrastructure and regional infrastructure as we continue to grow. Additionally, the virtual infrastructure, and this has really been around website development, marketing, and e-commerce development, particularly the e-commerce portion, which we've really seen explode over this last year with the COVID epidemic and consumers being more interested in purchasing food items, local food items, as well as items in general via the internet and e-commerce platforms. So people actually have this availability, and consumers are more interested in it. And we want to allow producers to have a low-cost solution to be able to sell their products online in this e-commerce platform with this shared infrastructure that we're developing. And the last part of our vision is technical marketing and business support. And the real aspect that I'll be discussing today is about marketing support that we've developed within our program. So let me hit on a virtual infrastructure. So we developed a website called Eat Wyoming, which is our e-commerce purchasing platform. And this is really directed towards the audiences of consumers, producers, and local food markets within Wyoming. And so here's a screenshot of the website. It's eatwyoming.com is where the website is. It is Wyoming statewide online farmers market. And we're wanting to be able to allow producers and different markets and regions to be able to utilize this platform, not just the website, but the infrastructure that the website operates. So this is the e-commerce platform, the product databases, and connection through the internet for consumers to be able to reach these products for producers, and producers to be able to direct their interested parties and interested consumers to a place that they could purchase their e-commerce platform for a low cost to the producer and low cost to the consumer as well. So here's a little idea of what the shop looks like. We've got some sausages, we've got caramel rolls, and some jellies and stuff. And so, when somebody goes to the shop platform of the site, they'll be able to just peruse through all of these different items that are potentially available, as well as you see at the very top of this, where it says producers, you know, we could click on this and it'll actually show a list of all the different producers that are participating in the website, and it'll directly go to a producer page that gives a highlight of who that producer is, connects the consumer with that producer, and then shows what products that producer has available. This next section here, where it says, "Where's my market?" at the very top, that'll actually show the different regions that we've identified within Wyoming, and the markets that are available, and where these where consumers can actually go and purchase these items, either via the e-commerce platform or their individual e-commerce platform in the different regions, or if they want to go purchase in actually in person, where they can actually do that. And we're developing a blog that has some good articles, particularly around our second objective, which is to educate consumers on the value of purchasing local food. And then we've got recipes, which is one of our objectives as well, of educating consumers on how to actually utilize and use local foods when they purchase it. So our year 3 objective is to, we've done really well at developing the e-commerce platform. We've got producers on board to the e-commerce platform, and with a good producer page. And now we're going to be working on how can we actually utilize this infrastructure for markets in the future. Next, we're going to be talking about the physical infrastructure that I mentioned earlier. And this is really 3 components, which is transportation, storage capacity, and then processing capacity is the third component of that. And you can see here, the main component we've been working on is local food transportation. This is part of the work that we've been doing, mainly refrigerated transportation and dry transportation, but this can expand into frozen transportation with the plethora of availability of meat items that are in Wyoming, and how big that industry is here. So here are the different regions. This is a map from the state that is how they actually break up the regions in Wyoming. These are really geographical regions. As you can see, the Northeast, which includes the big communities such as Sheridan, Gillette, Buffalo, that's in the Northeast. Central includes Casper, Douglas, Rollins, Glen Rock. Yeah, Central. Southeast is Laramie, Cheyenne, Wheatland, Torrington, and the Southwest is actually a pretty expansive region. And we look at it almost as 2 regions, but we've collectively looked at it as the Southwest region. The biggest player within the Southwest region is Jackson Hole. Obviously, there's a huge market there with the tourism that comes in, but then also Rock Springs, Green River is developing some good stuff, and I think there's some good potential in the Southwest region to expand regionally as well. And lastly, we come to the Northwest region, and within our study and our program and project that we've been working on, we've broken this up into 2 different segments. So the Northwest region includes the Bighorn Basin, which is Cody, Worland, Powell, and then Fremont County, because we feel Fremont County is its own unique individual area, which includes like Lander, Riverton, and then the Wind River Reservation. And we feel this is a very unique area of Wyoming that has significant potential around local foods. And so we really wanted to break that area into its own region from the Northwest. So we have the Bighorn Basin and the Fremont region. So here's an overview of what we've worked on this year regarding transportation. So the map on the left here shows the different routes that we've been able to run. So we have 3 different routes. We have one that goes, I guess technically 4 routes. We have one that goes into the Bighorn Basin, and during the summer we're able to connect the Bighorn Basin into the Sheridan region or the Northeast region, and then back down into Casper. So we do that as kind of a circle route. But during the winter, those are 2 separate routes. So going up to the Sheridan area or the Northeast area, and then the Bighorn Basin area. Additionally, over to the west, we've got a route that goes into Lander, Riverton, and then into Jackson, to be able to not only transport goods there, but then bring those back into the central region. And then we have a southeast region that goes into Cheyenne and Laramie. And so those are the main, like I said, 3 or 4 really transportation routes that we've done. And so if you look here, we've transported about 8,000 pounds in our first year of doing this. So that was in 2019. We transported about 8,000 pounds, and that was more or less minimal. We didn't have all these routes established very much at that point. And this year, which is year 2, that we're just coming to a culmination of, or N2. We transported about 22,000 pounds, which is significant. That's a huge jump that we were able to do this year, which is great. And below that, it shows where the most traveled regions were. So Central, obviously, we've got a large market in Casper for local foods, and we've been able to not only bring goods into Casper, but be able to use it as a hub to transport goods to other regions. Northeast region has been very successful, as well as the Bighorn Basin in Fremont County. Southeast and Southwest haven't been our most traveled regions, but we hope to expand in the future to these regions to be able to make this a significantly robust transportation routes, to be able to connect all these regions and provide a service to these producers that may want to sell their goods into other areas, particularly areas with larger markets like Casper and Cheyenne and Jackson and Sheridan. And here's a graph that shows, what we did over the first couple of years. So we've got in 2018, we didn't transport any goods refrigerated. 2019, like I said, was 8,000, and 2020 was about 22,000. And this shows a logarithmic graph of what we could potentially do with refrigerated capacity. Right now we are running a single refrigerated van into these different routes. And we anticipate by 2025 that kind of a maximum capacity for that van will be about 40,000 pounds per year that we can transport, which is significant. It may be a little less, a little bit more, but looking at this next graph, with a fully resourced transportation capacity, say we have, these refrigerated vans in the different regions, or we expand to having more of a reefer truck, capacity that we can do. We've got some pretty good growth that can happen, and by 2025, we could be transporting 175,000 pounds. And look at the R value on this exponential graph is 1, which means this is very close to what we've been doing so far. Going from 0 to 8,000 to 22,000. It lines up very well with an exponential increase in the amount of goods that we can transport. So I feel very reassured that if we continue to expand our production, expand the infrastructure, this is something that we can reach and be able to have a very, very robust physical infrastructure, particularly around transportation. Next, like I said, with infrastructure is regional storage capacity. We conducted a grant, I believe it was in 2015, with the USDA, looking at how can we actually develop a food hub model in Wyoming. And the conclusion we came to is that the traditional hub and spoke model is not appropriate for the vast geographical distribution of Wyoming and the low population density. Those models really work well in a high population density like New York City or other places like Washington, D.C. or LA, but here in Wyoming, it's a different model. And so, the model we ended up proposing was a distributed model where each different region builds their capacity up in a way that then they could start hosting, their producers in that area, and then connect into these different regions more strategically. And this is different from a centralized to more of a peripheral or distributed model. And I think it is a potential. It has very high potential for success here in Wyoming. So here's one of the workshop topics we will be discussing. Tomorrow on Friday. We'll be hearing this on Thursday, and this is one of the things that we'll be discussing is how we can actually expand this regional storage capacity into the different regions that we've identified in Wyoming. So within the Northeast region, is there capacity for this growth of the storage capacity? And that would be dry storage, that would be refrigerated storage, and that would be frozen storage in areas like Buffalo or Sheridan or Gillette. Within the Bighorn Basin, is there the ability to expand this in Worland or Cody and Powell? Is this something that would be feasible in these different areas? In Fremont County, is this something that we could do in Lander, Riverton, or even the Wind River Reservation? The Southwest region, like I said, that includes Jackson and Green River, are the big 2 players right now, but even Evanston could be included into that. And how can we potentially find some opportunity to expand this within those areas? The Southeast region, Wheatland, Cheyenne, Laramie, there's some pretty good local food activity in that area, particularly in Laramie. Would we be able to expand the storage capacity, again, dry, refrigerated, and frozen storage in these different areas? And then, finally, regional processing capacity. And I know there's a whole lecture on this, and there's a whole segment on meat processing, but this is a huge component of how we're able to actually do this. It's been a struggle in Wyoming so far, particularly with meat processing, of how we can expand this in a way that would be valuable for the meat producers of Wyoming, but then also expanding this to thinking, how can we do this for value-added processing, other types of goods and specialty crops, dairy or other specialty crops, fruits, and et cetera. And so this is something that we'll continue to discuss, a workshop item that I'd love to have a conversation with all of the attendees. And once again, thank you for joining. So the last little portion, one of the most exciting portions that we've been working on, I think one of the highest potentials is this technical marketing and business support. And the real area that we are going to be targeting, at least in this presentation, is the marketing support. So again, we developed this brand, Eat Wyoming, and this website. But the way we chose Eat Wyoming is we really want consumers to understand, this is what we want them to do. We want them to eat Wyoming products. We want them to eat Wyoming raspberries. We want them to eat Wyoming meat. And so we ended up choosing this brand to continue to expand our marketing efforts with. So the audience that we're really trying to target within this is producers and local food businesses. So let me review the marketing objectives that we've outlined that have helped us achieve the goals that we've discussed previously. So the first objective is to increase consumer awareness of local food availability. Through the many studies that we performed previously, that was one of the big topics that came up from consumers. From the consumer standpoint, is I didn't know that product was available, or I would love to purchase more local food, but it's not available. And I think this is more of a misconception than a reality, is that they just haven't known, or they don't know the producers, they don't know the products, they don't know the markets that are available in Wyoming that they can actually purchase these goods from. So that's our first objective. Strategy one inside of that is to build connection between producers and consumers. And so, one of the big strategies we target is how can we build that relationship with producers and consumers so they feel like they understand and they know who they're purchasing their food from, versus going to Walmart and purchasing something they have no idea what they're actually purchasing from or who they're purchasing it from. Our second strategy is educating consumers on how to use that local food. And this is an expansion of what we talked about previously as well. So objective two, and this is to provide education on the value of purchasing local food. So strategy two of objective one really fits into this as well. But our strategy here, once again, is to educate consumers on the value of purchasing local food. This is targeting that equation, remember at the very beginning of my presentation, that availability minus price sensitivity equals access. This is really targeting the price sensitivity of consumers. There was within our studies, there's an assumption that local food has a higher cost, or organic food has a higher cost. We want to educate consumers that, number one, not always does it have a higher cost. And number two, if it does have a higher cost, it may benefit you more in different ways to actually purchase that food than purchasing something that may be a lower cost, but have some detriment to it. So, going back to our objective one, strategy one of connecting consumers to producers, we've developed this concept called local food producer profiles. And I'll give you a little example. This really comes from the USDA's Know Your Farmer, Know Your Food initiative. We're piggybacking off of that, but we agree with their statement here that every family needs a farmer. And we agree with that. And I think that's the best way to move forward with this objective and this strategy, is to connect the consumers in Wyoming and regionally and other places that we may be selling these goods with the farmers that are actually producing those. So they have a direct connection with those producers. So here's an example. This is a yak producer, and they're called Prairie Wind Yaks. And what we've done in the service that we're providing is we go out to these producers and we go out to their farms and their ranches, and we talk with them and we learn their story and who they are. And we capture that in about a 500-word article that really highlights who they are, what their personality is, you know, who the producers are, what products are they selling, what markets are they actually sending those to, and we capture that in this little producer profile. So we're giving them, you know, this is a value and a content value that we're providing to the producer. This is something that they, you know, they're not paying anything for. This is supported through the grant. And we're wanting to be able to expand this to all the producers in Wyoming or anybody who's interested in participating with us. You know, we also go out there and do curated, you know, professional photography. And so this is photography that we were able to capture of these two producers, as well as, you know, the yaks that they're producing in their logo and providing some logo assistance if they need that, and giving a nice little highlight so we can connect the consumer to the producer and make the consumer feel like they understand and they know who they're purchasing their goods from. Here's another example. This is Baked by Sarah. She does baked goods, and you know, I think it's very personable to have this kind of highlight in this little article in this profile about who they are. You know, for example, you know, Sarah makes a bunch of sourdough breads and sourdough baked goods. And in here, she's talking about on the counter stands a jar starter that must be tended to. And, you know, quote, feed me, Seymour. And I'm guessing that's what she calls her sourdough starter. But it gives a personality of who she is. And I think it just creates a very good connection between the consumer and the producer. What we're going to be working on this next year, in our third year of the grant, this is the third and final year of the grant, and hopefully we'll be able to use some of these strategies to extend beyond that, but is doing these producer profiles in video. So they'll be more marketable on social media channels such as Instagram and Facebook. You know, and so this is something that we'll be looking to in the future. We've got a couple in the works right now. And again, if you have any interest in this type of activity, if you're a producer, feel free to reach out. We would love to be able to connect with you and provide this free service and be able to highlight you in this way. Secondarily, our second strategy, like I said, is to educate consumers on how to use local food. You know, and the real tactic we use, or the way we're doing that and implementing this strategy, is through local food recipes. And we're doing this on online recipes, as I mentioned when I was reviewing what our website looked like. You know, here's some squash fritters that Chef Leah Hayes was able to create, and this really highlights squash. You know, we got this squash from Lloydcraft Farms, and when we create these recipes, we have the ability to connect it into the producer's profile, into the goods that they could actually purchase these from, into their personal website, as well as, you know, like flour here. It says all-purpose flour or oat gluten-free, which you get from gluten-free oats, and being able to not only provide consumers an availability to utilize some local food products, but if they like one of these recipes, how can they purchase local food products to make this recipe later on? And the secondarily, to achieve this second strategy, is we're doing recipe videos. This is a quick video that's just highlighting some of the recipes that we've worked on this year. This is, you know, targeting our strategy within our second objective to be able to educate consumers on how to use local foods. You know, this is a video that is showing exactly that. This is something that we're going to continue to expand upon in our third year. You know, this video highlights some raspberries that are grown in Wyoming. These are actually raspberries grown out of Sun Harvest, which is located outside of Riverton. We show a raspberry vinaigrette. Some of the other recipes that we worked on was a raspberry syrup. We made a cocktail with it. We also showed consumers on how to actually utilize these raspberries and store them in a way that they can continue to use them throughout the winter. At the very end, there's some other recipes that we're doing within this project, some cabbage steaks and runza rolls with cabbage. Yeah, again, this is not published, but I did just want to give you guys a highlight of the things that we've been working on. So yeah, just take a look. This is a quick video. I appreciate your attention. This is only about 5 minutes, so yeah, enjoy.
I'm Leanne, and this is Leah. And we're here with Eat Wyoming today to show you awesome products grown right here in Wyoming. Today we're going to focus on raspberries. But first, we want you to subscribe and
ring that bell to get notifications to Eat Wyoming in the future.
Right here we have raspberries from Sun Harvest in Riverton, Wyoming. Raspberries are very high in vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, and fiber. And they're a tasty addition to any breakfast, lunch, dinner, or dessert. And Leah, I want you to show us a little bit about what we can do with these raspberries and how easy it really is.
We do want to talk about today that raspberries only last for so long, so we'll go over freezing and storage and some simple recipes that you can do to utilize these at their peak. Quick example of how to store your raspberries because they don't last as long is this easy cookie tray option. Spread them nice and even out over here to avoid clumps, freeze them, and then you can bag them up and use them for later. And
I'm Leanne, and this is Leah. And we're here with Eat Wyoming today to show you awesome products grown right here in Wyoming. Today we're going to focus on raspberries. But first, we want you to subscribe and
ring that bell to get notifications to Eat Wyoming in the future. We're going to add apple cider vinegar, fresh ground black pepper, salt. We're going to start mashing that together. You can see that bright color come out, and then we're going to slowly drizzle in the oil. And while that's emulsifying, which is forcing vinegar and oil together, you'll see pockets. Make sure to get any of those chunks out of there. And you can adjust consistency with water as you need to. So store the vinaigrette in an airtight container for a week.
Additionally, if you have any great recipes that we can highlight and use in this, we would love to do that as well. So yeah, I appreciate your guys' attention in watching that video. For producers to be able to utilize and have the largest reach that they could have. Please reach out to us if you want, or if you're interested in us conducting a producer profile, we have the largest availability to do the written profiles, and that's something that we will show on our Eat Wyoming website, as well as all the social media channels that we're
Leanne, we lost the sound again. Leanne, is there something you can pause or turn up so we can hear Jesse? Oh, there it is back.
And allow us to help you transport those goods. Please do it over this year. It's available to you for free. You just have to get in touch with us. We have to figure out what our schedules are. Please contact Leanne. She's really the logistics expert regarding this. But if we're moving into your region at a certain time during the week, we can connect with you, be able to pick your product up and take it to the people that have purchased it. As well as if you have any interest in the infrastructure expansion. And this is going to be a real big topic that we talk about at our workshop of how can we move beyond just the transportation that we've been doing, expanding the transportation, but also moving into some of the storage capacity, which I think is step 2. And then I think the processing is in addition to that, and something that we'll continue to look into. If you're a consumer, please contact us if you're interested in purchasing local food. So this is individual producers that, you know, want local food items or have a specific food item they want. And they're like, well, I can't find this in Wyoming. Maybe we actually know a producer that is in Wyoming that actually produces these products. Or if you're a wholesale buyer, say you're a restaurant or a store and you're interested in purchasing local food items, please get in touch with us. We have a great database of different products and producers that are available in Wyoming. Additionally, you know, this is the Wyoming Food Coalition. I appreciate everyone attending. We have different working groups, and one of the working groups is the policy working group. And we are an innovative state with the Wyoming Food Freedom Act, and we want to be able to continue to expand this and clarify the language within this act. And one of the big clarifications that's come from within our working group with our vibrant farmers is clarifying the language for the potentially hazardous food items. So this would be meat, dairy products, eggs, stuff like that, which they've separated out into the new iteration of non-hazardous and potentially hazardous food items. And we're requesting some more clarification on that. And then lastly, we would love to continue with some different organizations within Wyoming, particularly economic development agencies or organizations with the regional infrastructure and expansion. So, you know, how can we tag along with Wyoming Main Street projects, or how can we work with, you know, USDA, Rural Development, or some of these other organizations and economic development agencies to expand this infrastructure, either if it's transportation, but more importantly, the storage and processing capacity as a potential business opportunity for these regions to develop. Again, Wyoming Business Council, they've been in huge support of what we've done. We are so thankful for the help that they've given us and provided within the Wyoming Food Coalition and the organizations and the work that we've done. But like I said, our grant ends at the end of this year, so September of 2021. And you know, I think this is very important. We've made some proof of concept of how can we expand this marketing assistance to producers and local food businesses in Wyoming and provide some of this content for a new age of e-commerce and social media outreach, but then also some policy support as well. So Wyoming Business Council, I'd love to continue to have these conversations with you regarding how can we continue this expansion. And additionally, you know, Central Wyoming College developed its Farm Incubator program. I think this is a revolutionary program within Wyoming, and it could serve as really the seed for the growth of these local food businesses and producers within Wyoming. And I think there's a very interesting and unique collaboration that we could do with the Central Wyoming College Farm Business Incubator program and the Small Business Development Center and some of the programs that Wyoming Women Organization is doing here in Wyoming for food business development and training purposes. So with that, this is the end of my presentation. Again, I'm sorry that I couldn't be here in person. Hopefully I'll be able to join for comments or questions later on. I'm currently working in the hospital at this point, and it's been a little dire at this moment. But I appreciate your attention and support for the work that we've been doing. And I do want to open it up to any questions that people have at this time to really answer, you know, clarify things that we've been working on, or answer any questions regarding how we can continue to expand or involve other people. So with that, I really appreciate your time and attention. I try to keep it short. You know, there's going to be some more topics in the workshop that we could really expand upon this and set the groundwork for how we can continue to move local foods forward in Wyoming. So I appreciate your time and thank you for your attention again. Thank you.
Great. Leanne, if you want to stop your screen share and folks can turn their videos on. Did anybody else just get on the website and start cruising around Eat Wyoming? Just me doing a little holiday shopping? No? Very cool to see all that progress. We've got a little bit of time. I don't know, maybe Jesse is in on his phone. So we've got a little bit of time for Q&A before we get into the soil health section. Wondered if folks have questions around any of these topics with infrastructure and the work that's being done, the progress that's been made on that piece.
Carrie, this is Pat Russell from Guernsey. And The previous gentleman, he mentioned something about partnering with economic development organizations. And so how would I go about having someone come to one of our scheduled meetings?
Yeah, Pat, remind me what your role is when you talk about coming to a scheduled meeting of whom?
It would be the economic development group for Guernsey, Wyoming.
For Guernsey, perfect. So Adam or Leanne, feel free to jump in, but is that something that Pat could reach out to someone from the infrastructure group to see how they might partner?
Absolutely. I've already written her down, and I'll reach out, and we would love to join a meeting and come down and visit. I think Adam can also answer to that, but we'd love to get together.
Okay, perfect. We meet Tuesdays at like 5:30. I don't remember which Tuesday right now. It doesn't come to my brain, but just send me an email and we'll figure it out. Thanks.
It seems like one of those things where the more people are in it, it's like when Facebook first started, right? Like the more people that are on, the more fun it is, right? Both on the producer and the consumer side. So what a neat opportunity to expand those partnerships. Other questions for the group? And Jesse, good to see that you joined us. Thanks for recording the talk. I'm glad you were able to make it. Other questions or suggestions for this group? Don't be shy. The time is now.
Gary, there was a note from Catherine. Is the name WyoFresh trademarked? I asked because another person is using it. So that's probably a question for Jesse.
Jesse, thoughts with names?
WyoFresh isn't associated with what we're doing. WyoFresh was part of the Triple Crown Cooperative Organization. I know that there's another organization using it down in Cheyenne as well. I haven't looked in to see if it is trademarked or not, but that would be a discussion between Triple Crown Cooperative and that other organization, I guess.
And being part of that, Jesse, I'm not real sure whether we ever did trademark that name or not. We started out as Triple Crown, and it's still registered with the state of Wyoming as under Triple Crown, doing business as WyoFresh. And right now we've basically suspended operations. So I don't have a good answer for that one.
I like the Eat Wyoming name and logo. Those were appealing. So I don't know what's been done in the past, but as I saw that resonated with me. There's some questions in the chat. How can small producers support organizations most effectively help the coalition in meeting its goals? Jesse, can you think about what role you'd hope for the producer organizations?
Yeah, I think producers in general, participating and providing some insight into the problems and obstacles that they're facing and potential solutions that they have available or that they've come up with that we may be able to either share or provide those solutions for. But then producer organizations, co-ops or other organizations within Wyoming, if there's a specific niche, how can we actually help your specific niche expand into some of these areas, particularly the different infrastructure methods. So, providing processing, which we heard about earlier, and providing some storage capacity, particularly refrigerated and frozen storage capacity to meet those regulations. How can we work together to really expand those for the producers, I think is really the steps we're moving into.
Great. Thanks for that. And then there was a question about delivery and thinking about, and I was curious about this too. I didn't finish my online order, but what does it look like? It looks like a lot of the things can be picked up locally and others can be delivered, probably varying by the product. Do you have any kind of progress updates with that piece of?
Yeah, so right now we have transportation routes that are provided through the grant. We are going into all regions right now. The most successful regions have been getting up into the Sheridan and Gillette area, getting into the Bighorn Basin, going through Fremont County, getting into Jackson, and going down into Wheatland, Torrington, and Cheyenne area. If there is interest, we are willing to continue to make this transition because we're helping subsidize this transportation right now with the grant because there is a kind of capacity level that we need to reach to make this sustainable beyond the period of the subsidy. So that's what we're trying to achieve, is really build these transportation routes out. So if you are interested, if you are a producer and have a product in a certain region and want to sell it into a different area, or if you're a consumer and want to buy products that are available outside of your region, Eat Wyoming is a great place to do that. And then we'll be able to connect you with those producers and transport it down into your separate regions. The easiest way is contacting Leanne if you have certain specialty items that you need.
Is there something with that, Jesse, for like, so everything now is being delivered through this van? Do they go to like drop-off spots then where people can pick them up? Is that, maybe I didn't catch that part right in the video. Yeah,
so we're collaborating with different, brick and mortar stores that are in these different regions. So like Be Healthy in the Bighorn Basin is an example of one of those. That's a place that we're using as a pickup location. So if a consumer in the Bighorn Basin buys a product that's from outside of the region, we've designated a time for them to be able to go to Be Healthy and pick up that item.
Okay. And then there was the question about producers. Given our question with the Food Freedom Act stuff this morning, how does this work since the producer isn't selling directly to the consumer? Adam, is this, do you want to speak to it? I can put it in the chat, but do you want to speak on some of the logistics of this?
Yes, absolutely. And Rachel, I appreciate you putting a little blurb of info in there. Rachel's right on. So this is one of those really confusing things, and it's kind of why I asked, even though we've had discussions, is the Department of Ag or Department of Health has said that in this kind of a model, it really is almost like a virtual farmer's market.
Right.
So even though a customer can sign on and they can purchase goods from different producers, it is really no different than you going to an in-person farmer's market where it's one stop and you just go from booth to booth to booth. So each producer has their own section of the website. And even though customers can buy things from different producers and have all of that come to them for pickup, it's still considered directly between the producer and the consumer because the consumer is getting it from that producer's booth, so to speak, which is why there's so much confusion about how is that much different than a brick and mortar store that technically has, a different shelf for each consumer. But as Tyler said, we also don't want them to like close the door on something like this. So we have to be a little careful with asking for changes to the law that might fix this. We don't want them to swing back the other way.
Well, and Adam, to add to that, we operated Triple Crown / Wild Fresh for about 9 years. Scott's on here too. Scott was our treasurer, and that's exactly all we did as Wild Fresh is transport goods. They ordered it directly online from the producer. We took it from, say, Goshen, or from Torrington to Laramie. We just acted as the transport. It was a direct sale from the consumer, or the producer to the consumer. So we were a online farmers market, and that was how we operated, and it was legal.
And I would just not ask about the back end of the accounting to know how many cash boxes are functioning. I'm assuming they're all little separate.
Well, and the way it worked, and I don't know how Adams is doing, but the producers, they paid shipping and handling, us as producers, and the consumer, just like you would if you were ordering from Walmart or Amazon or wherever, just for a transportation fee. And then we paid the drivers. Leanne was one of the drivers for a while. So, that was how we worked. We never took possession of any of the products.
Okay.
And they ordered from the producer.
That's a really good question. And I'm going to just put in a plug. Rachel and Jesse are really the ones who have done the work on this. But we did up here in Sheridan, a similar market that used similar infrastructure. But one of the things that Rachel and Jesse have done an excellent job of doing is incorporating technology that makes some of this easier. So you actually, when you're signing up, you give them your producer information, and the site's actually set up that when your product sells, your money basically goes straight to you. So and guys jump in if that's changed since the way it was earlier. But so it really cuts out a lot of that middleman. And Carrie, back to your question about those different cash boxes, it's actually a digital version of everyone has their own cash box that the system automatically parses out. It's a pretty cool way to handle that.
Nice.
And that's basically how we worked. And Scott would write the checks to the producer directly. We never had a cash box except they could use PayPal or whatever. And so we never took possession. I mean, yeah, the money was reimbursed back to the producer,
Great, great.
just
Well,
like a farmer's market.
good. Neat to see the innovations and the potential with it. Excited to see those details. We are out of time now for this topic. So big thanks to the infrastructure group and Jesse and everybody else for the work they're putting in there. Really appreciate that. If folks have more questions or want to get involved, it sounds like Jesse, Lee, and Leroy are all good connections on that group, and Adam obviously. So feel free to reach out to them and send them ideas and get involved. So we are going to scoot now into the Soil Health Initiative. This is an outgrowth of the Sustainable Ecosystems Working Group that Mike is heading up. And I think we've got a couple different experts on to share some new info with us about soil health. Mike, remind me, are we sharing, do we need to share screens, or can we just have people shut off, presenters turn on videos and everyone else shut off to pay attention?
Yeah, we'll be sharing screen.
Okay, perfect. So I just want to make sure I get my right people on that you can share a screen. We'll make you co-hosts. Just to remind people, as we are doing this, we are still recording this so folks can use it if they weren't able to attend, and publishing chunks of this on the website. Let's see, is Helen... I think Helen's our other presenter today.
It's Caitlin is today. Helen is going to be here tomorrow.
Okay, so Helen's tomorrow. Hi, Caitlin. I think that you all should have the